Hey, my name is Jake Spainhauer, and I chose to do my presentation on the Whistleblower with Marco Polos and Bernie Madoff. So the facts of this case, just basically Bernie Madoff was guilty of running a Ponzi scheme that was the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Marco Polos caught his fraud and submitted 5 different findings to the SEC over several years. He took his time and gathered information to be able to shut down this Ponzi scheme, and ended up being one of the prime investigators on the Madoff case, and was able to eventually gather enough information to prosecute Madoff. So if we go through in the next few slides, I'm going to go through the IMA whistleblower steps and how Marco Polos was able to go through these steps to be able to find the information necessary to convict Madoff of fraud. So competence. First off, he was able to use his knowledge in mathematics and investing. He was an experienced investor. He was able to catch the fraud in Madoff's case by trying to reciprocate the earnings that Madoff was getting, and he wasn't able to do it. He was also used his knowledge of the markets to understand that it's impossible for anybody to be able to have that much success over the market, even during down months. Even after the fraud was detected was undetected by the SEC, he kept investigating. So confidentiality and integrity. He was able to keep this confidential by giving the information to the SEC and not the mainstream media. He wasn't looking for attention or personal gain, and this helped him be able to continue to keep his professionalism and keep his integrity. He didn't seek the spotlight. He was able to collect all his data ethically and using standard audit procedures. And finally, credibility. He kept going to the SEC even after they couldn't detect the fraud. And he finally compiled dozens of red flags in a list and gathered information, and he gathered evidence to back each one of these red flags and submitted this to the SEC. And finally, on the 5th time, he was able to have the information necessary to convict Madoff of fraud. So if we using Badaracco's advice on being a quiet hero, I feel like Marco Polos did this very well. He kept his composure throughout the whole thing, and like I said, he wasn't trying to seek fame and fortune. He was mainly interested in convicting Madoff of this fraud and helping out the millions of people and investments and the retirement funds that were affected by this. He submitted his findings quietly and promptly, and he kept his head even after his findings were rejected by the SEC. He kept gathering information, and by doing this over several years, he was able to book Madoff and convict him. So the results of this, billions of dollars were lost. Madoff was sent to prison, and many people had to change their lives in their retirement. They had to keep working and are still working to pay this off. I feel like he could have done more than just being a quiet leader in this case. After the SEC had rejected his findings, I feel like then he should have blown the whistle and really made a big deal out of it, maybe gone to the media and got the ball rolling in that way. But most of all, I feel like the blame falls on the SEC. It's their job to capture this fraud. They had this case presented to them, and they didn't do their duty. And this caused millions of people, or billions of dollars to be lost. They needed to do a better job of looking into this case, and they needed to do their part to be the heroes in this case. Thank you.